YouTube. Hello, YouTube, I think. Let's see if I'm not private this time.
Refresh.
Yeah.
Nope. Says live stream offline.
Hello, YouTube, I think. Oh,
We
see if I'm not muted there, so that's great.
Definitely don't see us on Twitch.
Oh, I see us on YouTube.
There we go.
Well,
Okay, I see us on
yeah.
Twitch. And I just
We're
got the
good.
alert on my phone.
Wow, I am.
All right, we're live on both spots.
Let's fucking go.
All right. I'm even going to post on Blue Sky. I'm skeeting. That's what we're calling it. Skeeting, right? Elon Rudin tweet. We got nothing left. Can't use post. That's too plain.
Yeet the tweet.
Yeet the tweet. Jeff says, not worth it because there's not going to be Star Fox. Oh, how do you know, Jeff? It's a 2-minute trailer of hardware. All they showed was a snippet of Mario Kart. There could be Star Fox.
Here's a box. There ain't going to be shit on here I want.
Fuck your Switch. Sorry, YouTube.
Hasn't even been fucking released yet, man. Good.
It's great. I
Nintendo
have an article to talk about
back.
when we get started, but there's something Eurogamer said in an article, and I'm dying laughing. It's just crazy. But yeah, there could be Star Fox. Don't worry. There'll be stuff.
There'll be stuff.
Whenever you're ready, Chart.
Oh, I got a one-liner here. I got to think of one. All right.
You want one?
Okay.
I can do one.
Go for it. If you got one, go for it.
All right. Well, Nintendo announced the Switch 2. Are you fucking happy now? Are you? Are you? Today on...
Don't leak over the intro.
Too late to censor it. Can I get a censor button?
Guys, welcome. As one might think that Jake was hosting this episode, but he's not. He just had a better one-liner, and I couldn't think of anything fast enough. Welcome, one and all, to another Friday night. As we are Press B to Cancel, we are here to talk about none other than retro games, because that's literally all we've discussed the last couple of months. Today, we're going to talk about a retro game known as the new Nintendo Switch 2 XL-U. Super retro. But of course, I'm not here to talk about the Super Switch 2 XL unit by myself. No, I've got two of my closest, dearest friends with me to discuss the same things as we normally do. Jake, how excited are you? Are you excited for this at all?
I'd be a lot more excited if they called it the Super Switch. That's a hell of a name. They could have painted that son of a bitch gray and it'd been great. It worked for Sony.
Oh man, could you know the nostalgic fucking? I would buy one. I mean, fucking Sony did that, and all I want is a goddamn PS1 controller for my PS5.
Sold out instantly. Yeah,
it did. Stupid, dumb, and it was like $70-$80. Ridiculous. Also, who is not ridiculous but is here with us, Wolf? How are you today, sir?
How am I not ridiculous? I'm pretty sure I suffer from a from a condition called ridiculosis, but thank you.
Ridiculitis. Well, guys, it happened. It finally happened. We've all been watching 10-year-old sketches hit all the social medias. We've been hemming and hawing and wondering, is this really what it's going to look like? Is this really what we're going to get? And guess what, boys? We got it. We got it. So for those of you who are living under some kind of rock or a box or just only turn on your PC during the weekend, Nintendo has come out and announced that its new console, the Switch 2, or as Sinistar likes to call it, the Super Switch XL 2U. I had to slide that in there for him. He's really sad he wasn't here tonight. It's out. Well, it's not coming out, but it's coming out, what, in April? Is that when they announced the release?
No, that's when they're doing the big announcement.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't speculate?
No, well,
that's
not
when we're getting the
You
announcement.
can't throw around wild accusation that's coming out in April. That's crazy talk. Yeah, Wolf's right. There'll be a direct in April.
I'm here for the fake news. Okay,
I'm
here to drop all the fake news.
They gave us a 2-minute trailer showing the hardware for 2 minutes and a teaser of Mario Kart, and that's all they got, and then a date for April for direct. That's all we know. We know that it's coming out in 2025. That's about it.
Okay. Well, I watched the video myself, halfway through working and halfway through trying to see what all the big hubbub was about. I got to see the cool little animations of it outlining all the little colors, and it's gray and it's still got the red. I think Jake's going to pop up the video here so you can
Yeah.
watch along with us as we go ahead and discuss what is essentially just a newer, bigger Switch. Now, the question is, because all of us have Steam Decks, so that'll be kind of our, I guess, our comparison to the new Switch compared to like a streaming device such as the Steam Deck. And really, is it worth it? Like, are we excited about seeing a Switch 2 after
Yeah.
watching the 2-minute video, the small snippets of information we got, which is basically nothing? It's got a breakable kickstand that folds all the way down, which is super great. Um, you guys have complained about the controllers on more than one occasion, and now they're talking about, we think it might be used as a mouse as well. We don't know. I don't know if we know that for sure, but we've had some speculations on how we think things are going to work. So to keep in mind when listening to this episode, we've all seen the same thing you guys have seen. We've seen 2 minutes of this thing. This is a lot of speculation on what we think is going to
Huge.
happen. Are we excited about it? What games do we think we're going to get with it? And all in all, is it really going to be worth it? Are we really super hyped for another Nintendo console to come out? Just like we all have Switches, right? We all have our Switches available with us to talk about. Do we use the Switch we currently have? Is it worth the update to a new console? What do you guys think? I will go ahead and individually just kind of say, Jake, how do you feel? Blanket statement. You don't have to go into detail right now, but
On
like,
the Switch 2?
other than, yeah, what do you think after this video?
I'm glad they officially announced it because it's like the world's worst kept secret, right? I mean, months went by where people like Switch 2 is coming. It's gonna be called the Switch 2. It's gonna have all this and that. It got to the point where accessory manufacturers, were starting to leak their designs of their controller cases and housing and all that kind of stuff. And it got to the point where everybody was leaking information about the Switch except for Nintendo. So I feel like this announcement was probably very rushed. Let me just close this video real quick. They were probably felt like they were rushed maybe to a degree to get something out. And I feel like what they showed us on this 2-minute and 22-second trailer is probably B-roll that they are put together for their direct. And I bet you everything we saw in this 2-minute trailer, we're going to see again in April, that we're going to have the president of Nintendo talking over it and snapping his fingers.
Yeah,
going, yeah.
The opening of the direct is just going to be this video with a voiceover.
Yeah.
And a few of the
right
and more in games. And that's fine. I thought we would get more than 2 minutes. I'd also like for them to have confirmed a couple things. So like real quick, there was rumors of a mouse functionality of some sort. The trailer kind of alludes to that with the snaking Joy-Cons. We can talk about that a little bit later. I don't know if that looks very comfortable as a mouse, but whatever, at least that's new. It does look like they took out the IR camera from the Joy-Cons. They're slightly longer. Whatever that means. The screen is bigger. I think I heard 8 inches for the new Switch 2 screen. Magnetically connecting to the console instead of being this plastic rail system that was so janky before. There's some new stuff here, but I mean, like Sinistar told us offline, and we said we would bring it up. He kind of struggled on whether does this really feel like a Switch 2? Does this feel like a new console or new handheld, or is this more of a Switch XL in vein of 3DS and 3DXL? And it's an interesting take. I don't know. I feel there's probably some new stuff here, but from that brief 3 seconds of Mario Kart gameplay, I'm sure games are going to run better on the Switch 2, but I don't think it's going to be a graphical leap forward that some people might be expecting. And I'm okay with that. I'm interested in the Switch 2, but I don't think I'm hyped for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm there with you. We were talking in the Marco Polos about, what the innovations are looking like they'll be, or lack of innovations. Yeah, this is not looking like it's going to be the jump from like Wii U to Switch, which all things considered, the jump from Wii U to Switch, I don't feel like was as big as everybody makes it out to be. It's just that it's a lot of people didn't play with the Wii U.
That's what it is.
Understandable.
You and I did.
Going from oh yeah, I loved mine. I played the crap out of it. But
Hmm.
I mean, I really liked that I could play the game off of the TV and on a little screen in my hand.
Yeah.
Um, I've been saying since, and I know it wasn't exactly realistic back then, but I've been saying since the Game Boy Advance was, since the SP came out, I think, that Nintendo really needs to make a console that can connect to the TV and just be a handheld. Like that's how long I was saying that should be a thing. And then they finally did it with the Switch. How many generations later? It was
Right.
GameCube, so Wii U, Switch. So 3 generations later they finally did it. But I mean, I was not a huge fan of the 3DS personally.
Okay.
Um I liked the DS, but the jump to 3DS didn't feel like much of a jump. And I mean, I never bought one. Eventually, my brother got me the ugly looking 2DS because 3D doesn't work for my eyes because I got a lazy eye. So can't do it. So there was no point in spending all that money on something I couldn't make use of. And it sounds
Right.
like most people thought it sucked anyway, as far as the 3D effect goes. So
Hmm.
It wasn't bad.
no love lost
It was
there.
a novelty. I think I eventually just turned it off. But there were certain games where it felt like it was interesting. It wasn't bad. The whole idea of glasses free 3D is neat. But I mean, the whole idea of 3D effect on a screen is kind of a fad at this point that's been over.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember 3D TVs being a big old thing, and you had to buy glasses for it and everything. I was like, this
Yeah.
ain't gonna last, and sure shit, it did not last very long.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
that's absolutely ridiculous because I think you had to sit like in a certain span
yeah,
of it to see the
Yeah,
3D,
zone.
even with the glasses on.
I'm looking at a
And
curved monitor right now, and I'm like, this makes sense. But now I gotta look. You're literally got to be at a point to look at a 3D TV. I don't need to
Yeah.
watch Parts of the Caribbean in 3D. I'm good. Thanks, so
Um
appreciate
yeah,
it.
to,
like even
to
things
go
with 3D glasses never worked for me.
Right.
I
Yeah.
remember
No,
going
and
to
that's
like
fair.
what at Disneyland or Disney World, they had something where you had to put on the glasses to see it
Captain
in 3D.
EO, baby.
There was that, and I think there was also the Honey I Shrunk the Audience show.
Yes, that one too. Yeah.
And Honey I Shrunk the Audience, like it didn't work for me. Obviously, I had to put the glasses on so I didn't see the doubling image, but that's
Mhm.
all it did was make the image look like it should anyway. 3D didn't work for
It,
me.
it
So,
clarified it.
yeah, it's like, what? This is what it looks like when I don't have my glasses on anyway.
Yeah. Like Michael Jackson flying around in space to really get your 3D glasses on. Anyways, before we
Um
go too far off on a tangent, Jake, what do you got?
Mm.
yeah, I want to talk about real quick. You said the Wii U, and people don't realize that it wasn't much of a jump to the Switch. I think I'm going to echo that because one of the games that people love on the Switch was Breath of the Wild. I wonder how many people forget that that came out on the Wii U first. That was a cross
Yep.
generation game. I played that on the Wii U, and it looked fine. I mean, it had some frame dips and spots, but that was great on the Wii U. And I'm with you playing that on the Wii U tablet on the couch. My wife watched TV. It's awesome. I like the Wii U. When it came to the Switch, I bought it again for the Switch because I like the game so much. But outside of some frame rate improvements, same game. There wasn't that
Right.
much in terms of graphical change. And I'm gonna say it again. Like I don't expect a graphical, makeover for the Switch 2. Nintendo is kind of like dialed in or zeroed in on a certain graphical style for their first party games, and they look great. I think Mario Kart and
Right.
Mario Odyssey, they look great. And I don't think there's much more they can do with that cartoony style that they've nailed down to make it look better. All they can do, I think, at this point is add more things on the screen, right? Or maybe make it so the frame rate is better. I would love this thing. I would love, and I wish I didn't have to speculate on this, but I really hope it's 1080p 60 locked. At this point, this many years into this generation, how many years have we had 1080p 60 gaming on PC? It feels like at least 10 years. So I'm hoping maybe this device would be that. But I mean,
But you can argue
you
that
know,
that Sony and Microsoft have their consoles that are also, 1080 360 or 1080 60p locked, right? I mean, I
they're not
played
though,
my
right?
stuff on. I
Is
don't
it?
know if they're
No,
locked. There's
they
a
tend to not
quality.
be.
There's a quality, and then there's like instead of like
Performance.
having the specifics, yeah,
Yeah.
performance or quality, right? And when I put it on performance and I played, just say Forbidden West, because that's one that I finished just recently, the game is smooth and beautiful. There's no frame
Right.
drop, nothing. It's actually looks pretty good. But if you put up performance, then it drops it, but it looks beautiful. But in like if you take it off, if you take the quality off, it still looks fantastic. So
Right.
I don't know. The PlayStation, as a console is pretty beefy on its own, being primarily PC gamer myself, but on my big screen downstairs, it's a 1080. It looks fucking great. So
Right.
I guess I don't know. It feels like Microsoft and Sony might have that down, and the Nintendo just uses their art style to kind of hide the fact that they're not doing the same kind of
Yeah.
thing. Am I wrong in thinking that? You think, guys, or
I don't think the
Yeah,
consoles,
it's
Xbox and PlayStation, are that powerful yet. Although I think they're getting
Mhm.
there. I think even on performance mode, depending on the game, some games may still struggle. But I could be wrong. Sorry, Wolf. Go ahead.
Okay.
yeah, something to consider with the Switch is well, with the Switch 2 specifically, is it's gonna be what, roughly 7, 8 years newer technology than the Switch.
Mhm.
And I do feel like the capabilities of small footprint chips have grown so much in that time. Like, look at the Steam Deck, look at
Right.
the Legion, look at the Go. Like these all are little tiny powerhouses, right?
Mhm.
And the Switch 2 is probably not going to be much different than those in terms of capabilities.
Mhm.
That would be my guess anyway. I don't know when they started, when they ended their R&D and said, "Okay, send them into production." But
Right.
I got to imagine it was after the Steam Deck did. So
Right.
How old's the Steam Deck now? 3 years? 4 years?
3 years, I want to
I
say.
think it's 3 years, yeah. How
Yeah,
long have
because
I
like
had
the
mine?
original
Jesus.
Switch, when the original Switch came out, it was at the I guess the pinnacle of tablets, kind of just overtaking things. Remember, we had a period where
Mhm.
people had these mini little netbook laptops, and then they moved
Yeah.
to tablets, and then
Or
tablets
like the
kind of ramped up their
surfaces and
graphical
shit.
power. Yeah, so now we
Yeah.
have now we have tablets, and when the Switch One came out, it's an NVIDIA Tegra chip, and it was I mean, it was pretty advanced for a tablet, right? It's a glorified Android tablet. That's what the Switch One is.
Yeah.
But you're right, Well, since then we've had the Steam Deck, which is more than just a tablet. The Steam Deck is basically a PC in your pocket, or a big pocket,
Oh yeah.
right?
I've disassembled mine to change the hard drive and change
Yeah.
change parts out. Like since that's
Right.
doable, I did it. Like
And
Yeah.
it's
it just
designed
makes
that way,
sense.
right? Like they
And
actually say, "Please mess with this."
I
But
want to
like
say
that's
I know we're kind of like on the side of, like you said, interested, not excited.
Right.
I'm sure there are a lot of people who are very excited because, um, like me personally, I wouldn't consider myself a power user, but I'm definitely a lot more in tune with digging into the settings and all that than your average
Mhm.
gamer. If
Right.
we
sure.
use let's use my brother as an example for the average gamer, or my friend. My friend is like he plays on PC, but he doesn't get into the nitty gritty about the details of stuff. He
Right.
generally doesn't build his own PC. He had a friend build it for him last time he did it.
Surrounded
So
by people that have built their computers on this podcast and and look for like how can I overclock this properly and is
I don't get heavy. I don't.
DLSS still worth it or and all this other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't jump into the overclocking because I've fried things in the past doing that. So I just don't mess with that anymore. But
Same.
um, yeah, like I think there's a lot of people who are going to see this as like, oh, I don't have to screw around in Linux or Windows while I'm gaming.
Mhm.
This is going to be the preferred option for people who want gaming on the go that's easy.
Yeah.
Right. The plug
I
and
can see that.
play.
Because yeah, with the
Yeah.
Steam Deck, sometimes I hit a game where I'm like, oh, I got to tinker with stuff before I can play it
Yeah.
right.
Yep.
Even Final Fantasy 12, just because it's old enough. It was like, and Square Enix never bothers to update crap. So they were just like,
Right.
well, Steam Deck's out. Good luck with that.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean Jake has shown me a bunch of different programs to download on the Steam Deck, like the
Yeah.
Moonlight Sunlight thing I finally got working. And it makes Wukong gorgeous on my TV in my bedroom to play while I'm going to bed. And Wukong is not playable on if you download it straight to the Steam Deck. It is too powerful. Alan Wake 2, I couldn't play it on there, but you could play it on this thing. And it's just streaming from your PC, but you can adjust where it's the Steam Deck streaming from Steam is one thing. This basically taps into your computer, and then you can adjust the different things that Jake has gushed about Moonlight Sunlight on more occasions than
Yeah.
one. But I'm just getting into it, so it's like new and
Yeah. I haven't even
cool for
tinkered with
me.
that yet. I
Yeah,
just if it runs on the Steam Deck, I'll play it. Is kind of where I'm at.
I
For
used to
me,
be
it's
that
like
way, Wolf.
if it's a game I want to play, I want to play on the couch upstairs, and my PC is here in my office, and I don't want to lug this upstairs. So I've been
Right?
using the
No,
Steam
that's
Deck for
fair.
everything, and I would argue for me the best parts of the Steam Deck are the stuff that's you got to tinker. It's not out of the box. Like out of the box, the Steam Deck is a great device. It runs
Oh,
games
it's
that you're probably
fantastic.
playing anyway. But when
Mhm.
you realize you can install EmuDeck and play all the classic retro titles with the fancy interface and screenshots, to you can tinker to stream from any other computer to your Steam Deck, to you can install Battle.net, Blizzard's launcher, GOG, all these other launchers on your device and play them. Yes, it's fidgety. There's tinkering involved. It's not something as accessible to everybody, like Wolf was saying, but those are the best parts of the Steam Deck to me. But I think
Right.
you're right, Wolf. From the average person, they're not going to want to deal with that stuff. But out of the box, Steam Deck is fine. But out of the box, the Switch 2 only does one thing. It's to play Switch 2 games. And that's definitely
Right.
to a
Right.
benefit for it.
And Switch One, it's
It
backwards
is.
compatible.
That,
Yeah, and Switch One.
not everything. They said not everything. We can talk
Fair,
about that
Well,
after.
I mean that big old honking Joy-Con isn't gonna fit into the. It can't be a Toy-Con. So
Well, so
Right.
can
I
do
mean,
we mention that real quick in terms of what we don't think what's not backwards compatible with the Switch 2?
yeah,
go for it.
So, because my thing is, so out of the box, people are saying, okay, it's not going to work with Ring Fit Adventures, which is that exercise game where you had the hoop and you squeeze the
Mhm.
hoop, because that has a thing where
yeah.
you slide in the Joy-Con. Fair enough. It probably won't work with Nintendo Labo, which for those who don't know, that was that brief period Nintendo was selling you cardboard, which was cool. I'm gonna say it was awesome. I love Labo, but it's Nintendo selling you cardboard. Yep, Wolf's got some. So
God damn
the
it.
size of some of those builds are probably not going to fit the Joy-Con. And if this thing doesn't have the IR camera, some of the builds will not work, period, because some of the builds use
Right.
the IR camera. So there's that.
Yeah, well,
But
there's
my
also
worry,
games that make use of the IR camera, like the 1-2
yes,
switch.
right, there's that too.
So
But my worry is I'm wondering if this thing will have a touchscreen, because why would you announce or why would there be rumors of a mouse support? I'm not going to say announced, but why would there be rumors of mouse support when the thing had a touchscreen? Because when
Well,
Switch 1 came out, no one ever really used the touchscreen for the most part. It's very rare. I mean, Mario Maker had it, and a couple eShop games had it, but nobody really took advantage of the touchscreen. So why would you have a mouse support if you have a touchscreen unless they took the touchscreen off? In that case,
well,
any rare touchscreen game on Switch 1 would not work on Switch 2.
let
That's
me
my
let
theory.
me let me argue. Let me argue real quick because the Steam Deck has mouse capabilities on it with the touchpad or with like a
Right.
mouse
that was the
adjustment,
point I was
and it
gonna
has
make.
a touchscreen. So, and
Mhm.
I use the mouse on either when I'm floating around, I need to get in desktop mode, or I have my little fucking mouse that I have here that's on the floor and my Bluetooth keyboard, so I can plug it in and do stuff there. But it also has the touchscreen that I use my stylus on. So
Okay.
why would they get rid of one to use the other? It would like why would you think that they would get rid of the
Yeah, why
touchscreen just
not
for mouse
both?
Why?
capability?
Because this is a
Yeah.
company that had Bluetooth built into Switch 1, but didn't turn on Bluetooth audio for like 4 or 5 years, right? So that's like they don't always give you as many control options. I mean, the Steam Deck also has very robust controller support. You can change the
Mm.
controls however you want on Steam. That's one of the reasons why I love it. You can change buttons, swap them, add on-screen menus. Like the controller setup on the Steam Deck is second to none. It's amazing. Whereas on Switch, you can barely edit controls in game as it is, right? You can go to the system menu and tinker with things, but it's system wide and it's not nearly as good.
Mm. Mm.
So
Yeah,
I don't know.
but
And I want to bring up like uh, since we're kind of on the topic of bells and whistles that we think are missing or that should be a part of it. Sinistar brought this up about innovation and how we're always looking at Wolf. If I'm going away from the topic that you want to discuss, please let me know first before I go into something else because I don't want you to have to be like, oh, I was going to explain something that
I
was
was just
short.
I okay, then real quick, I want to
Yeah.
mention technically the Wii U had a form of mouse support and the touchscreen
Hmm.
because using the Wii remote
Jake doesn't believe it.
Was a lot like a mouse when you're pointing at the part on the screen to click.
Yeah.
So it had both.
Okay. So the Switch had that as well with the Joy-Cons. I mean, it has the same
but it didn't have a touch
thing.
screen.
The Switch has a touch screen.
The Switch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I thought you were talking the Wii.
So I see the point. And again, that's another thing. Like, okay, fine. They're getting rid of the IR camera from the Joy-Cons. Is that because they were adding mouse support to kind of make up for that? But I mean, using the mouse, the Joy-Con on its side, sliding around my lap is no replacement for pointing at the screen with the Joy-Con. I think anyway. It feels weird unless they're like expecting you to use the Switch at a desk or something. Why the mouse support? It just seems weird.
Why would you use the Switch at a desk though? Isn't the whole point of it to be mobile?
Why the mouse support? What would you use the mouse support for?
I don't know.
Here's what I think the mouse support is for. Mario Maker 3. Because when they add a feature, they don't plan it for every game. They're like, we need this feature for this game. Right. So Mario Maker 3, one of the major gripes with that is it was not as intuitive to use on the TV as it was in handheld mode.
Yeah.
So, mouse support, you're sitting on your couch playing Mario Maker 3 and you want to fine tune instead of sliding the analog stick around. Real quick, you slap it on your leg, move where you want it, click.
I have
Is that more intuitive than pointing a Joy-Con at the screen? There's no way.
It's cheaper.
It's definitely
cheaper,
yes.
probably.
Yeah.
and I'd have to argue that. Do you really think the people of Nintendo, and I'm probably totally wrong, so blast me on Discord if you guys think I need a good verbal ass kicking about this. But I can't imagine that these engineers at Nintendo are like, we should put a mouse in this. And like, well, you're going to be mobile. How are you going to work the mouse? And the guy just takes the thing and goes, put it on your leg. It works great. I have a hard time believing
I can see that being a thing because also consider this. It's designed in Japan. They have a lot of tiny home spaces in Japan.
That's fair.
You don't have big workspaces. Using your leg as like a makeshift mouse pad when you need it.
Nintendo's going to sell a mouse,
but when you need it,
pad for your a mouse pad for your leg.
That's not a terrible idea. I think I know it's funny, but I also think it's innovative.
No, I get it.
You made a good point as well too, where you said they don't always bring out features that are used for every game, and that's very true. There's one feature that I remember I think it was one of the Mario Party games that came out on Switch. One of the features was you could take two Switches, so you and a buddy, if you and a friend both have Mario Party, you could actually put them on the table side by side and play special games that way across two Switches. It's a feature that almost nobody's going to be able to do. It's incredibly rare, but it's supported, right?
Right.
There was another game that made use of that. The Clubhouse games.
Oh, they do that
Clubhouse
too?
games had the stock, like the slot car race thing. And you could connect multiple Switches in different patterns and get a whole track that followed the shape of how you connected the Switches. Because everybody wants to play across 4 little screens this big with gaps between them.
4
like
friends
they're playing
with Switches.
Like they're playing what? Motor GP at the arcade that was 3 players back in the 80s?
Right.
That's funny.
Crazy. Well, since you guys are talking about it.
What did Sinistar mention, Chard? It was that one feature that he thought was great and he hadn't seen anywhere else was the ad hoc network support, I think it was called.
Yeah.
Where he was on a plane with his wife and brother, I think, and they just turned on the ad hoc network, and on the plane they were able to link their Switches together to play, I think, Mario Party or something, or Diablo, something. They played something on the local network on a plane.
Right.
And that's something that the Steam Deck doesn't do. That's something a lot of devices don't do, and it's more cumbersome than not. And the fact that Nintendo did it so easy peasy is pretty noteworthy. So I know he liked that feature of the original Switch.
I don't know if it was as easy as the Switch, but you know what did that way back when?
What?
PSP.
Yeah, they had that?
They did, actually. Yeah.
PSP had ad hoc multiplayer.
Really? I don't remember that at all. Okay.
Nintendo over here just scooping shit out of Sony's trash bin. What you gotta do?
I think I want to say the DS had the capability, but not a lot of games made use of it.
Right.
So that's the thing too. Oh, go ahead, Chard.
I was just gonna go into a segue, but please keep going.
I was gonna say that Nintendo kind of flirts. Sorry, I had a chicken sandwich earlier. I'm still picking at my teeth. No, the Nintendo's always like flirted with the idea, the concept of networking in online features, right? Because DS is the one that had that Street Pass system, right? Where you could, if you had a DS in your pocket, and you can encounter strangers and trade shit. But in recent years, they've been very, very cautious with the online stuff. So I'm wondering how they do it with Switch 2, whether they open up a bit more or they're still going to be oddly strict. Like something like Animal Crossing, for those who played Animal Crossing on the Switch, to go visit somebody else's island, you have to go to the one spot on the beach, enter the building, load screen, talk to the guy, get a spiel about online connectivity, connect, load screen, loading, and then you can go to an island. It's like a 10-minute process to go online with some of these games. I wonder if they're gonna be like that in Switch 2, or they're gonna be a little bit more open. Is my curiosity.
Yeah, we were gonna segue into Sinistar had mentioned Nintendo is always known kind of for its innovation. Like it's not known for, like you said, the graphical inputs or the 60 frames and all this other stuff. Nintendo's big thing is innovation. So, you got the GameCube. I mean, you had the Nintendo 64 that had a bunch of ports and things that they were going to use for it that never really happened. GameCube, the same thing. There was a bunch of things that we never really got into because it's like they build these things for them to have these magical things happen to them, and then they abandon them and they move on to the next big thing, and they make Wii controllers that are really cool, and you get Twilight Princess on the GameCube, but then you get also, like you said, you got Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, but also played it on the Switch. You got Twilight Princess on the GameCube, but then you get to swing your sword and shoot your bow and arrow with your like you're actually doing it on the Wii, right? So the innovation that comes out of this, you've got exactly what you had asked for years ago, right? A gaming system that was handheld that you could
Yeah.
take with you anywhere and plug it into your TV and play it on your home couch, like wherever you wanted, right?
Yeah.
Without any loss of picture. Everything looks amazing on any size TV you have. It's Nintendo. So it's not Stellar Blade, it's not Horizon Zero Dawn. It's Mario. You're totally fine with it. It's Mario Kart. It doesn't have to look
Right.
freaking amazing. It looks good, but it's not whatever. So when you look at the Switch 2 and we see that 2-minute and 22-second clip of all the features that they're adding to it, where's the innovation at? Is what Sinistar was asking. Where is the innovation? Where is the thing that makes us go, oh, what is Nintendo doing now? What? Because I mean, you're gonna play. What do you play the Switch for? You play it for proprietary Nintendo games. You play it for
Right.
Metroid Dread. You play it for Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. You play it for Mario Odyssey. I can't play those games on my Steam Deck, not legally at least, without Nintendo coming after me. I mean, these games are specifically, I can't play Animal Crossing on my Steam Deck legally, So what is this going to make me put down my Steam Deck for? What innovation am I going to put my Steam Deck down to specifically go buy it other than just to play the next unnamed mainline 3D Mario platform?
Got
I
a
had to
fancy
throw that
critic.
in there.
It's a great pick.
Like that's honestly, I think that's all it is, right? Nintendo is
Mhm.
banking on the players who are not power users. They're banking on the casual gamer. They're banking on the people who are huge Mario stands. They're
Mhm.
I'm sure they're banking on the next Zelda because Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild, like those were just gangbusters for them. So
Right.
that's
And
Nintendo has always been very first party centric.
Mhm.
And that's not to say that Microsoft and Sony and Sega never were, but
Right.
Nintendo has by far been the most egregious about it, and they're not going to change anytime soon for sure.
Right.
So let me start by saying Eurogamer has an article out that people should take a look at. If Switch 2 is the end of innovative Nintendo, there's much to be sad about. So the reason that headline bothers me is all we've seen so far is
2
2
minutes.
minutes and 22 seconds of the
Right.
goddamn hardware. There's
Right.
so much
Right.
we don't know what they've done with it. So like I'm not trying to be too negative with the Switch because we don't know what they're going to do. It may be the innovations are what we saw, right? Mouse support in your lap on your leg. That thigh mouse is a whole other category of gaming. It may be that the magnetic Joy-Cons is going to solve the problem that people like me had, or that I had, right, with the drift, and also I can barely use it handheld these days because the things are so loose they disconnect all the time. Maybe that's what it is. Refining the hardware so it's next to perfect for folks, right? Because Nintendo used to be about quality hardware that was kid-proof practically, right? You used to be able to hurl an N64 controller against the wall and the wall would break before the controller does. Maybe the Switch 2 is going to take lessons learned from the Switch Lite to make it more durable. Maybe that's the innovation. We don't know. Or it could just be software, right? I mean, they do take what works and move forward. They've already said, on the Wii and the Wii U, the big thing was a virtual console where you could buy retro games for money, each individual title. They moved away from that to this Switch online system where you subscribe to their monthly service and you get the games in a package. People can shit on it all they want, but it's still dozens of games that are available to you instead of buying separately. And they've said they're keeping that, and they're not likely to restart from zero again and drip feed it.
Is that like Game Pass or like PlayStation?
Have you never used it?
Kind of. I've not used the Nintendo one. Yeah. I've only used I played Game Pass and then PlayStation Plus, where you get to play free games every so often before they take it. It's like a Netflix for your video games, right?
Yeah, and
whatever you want to take it off.
That was actually the joke when they initially announced it. Is it was often referred to as Netflix because it was essentially that with just NES games at launch.
Right, that makes sense.
And
right.
They've added way more now, and I think the Genesis and N64. And maybe Game Boy Advance.
People poo-pooing that when you have Game Pass and PlayStation Pass, it's the same thing.
Right, but those are locked behind the expensive Nintendo Online package, whereas
tiers,
NES, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy are included with the basic package.
Gotcha.
So, but I mean that's still you get dozens of games. Like, here's a great example of that actually being a good thing. My cousin just got his kid, who is about to turn 6, a Switch for Christmas. And it came with a 12-month Nintendo Online subscription. So I helped him set it up and downloaded all the updates for him and everything and got him going in it. And that kid was going nuts on the Super Nintendo games. Like a 6-year-old going absolutely nuts on Super Nintendo games. That was super cool. He was like Kirby Golf, and he was just having a blast playing different things. He popped up Super Metroid. He didn't get it much, but he was loving just being able to go from game to game to game. Right. My kid never did anything like that with those, but this little 5-year-old was like, oh, yeah, this is awesome, So there's an interest there, especially for younger audiences who are just wanting more. It's more.
Right.
It's also easy for us to forget too. Like for guys like us who have Steam Decks, have messed around with RetroArch, right? Who have a podcast about retro gaming. There's a dozen different ways I can tell you how to play retro games better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter when Switch has a small library of classic Nintendo games that anybody can pick up and play as long as they're a member of their service, right? And it's easy peasy to get in there.
Right.
Whereas to tell somebody, okay, download your ROMs from this website, configure. And I mean, we do it, but the average person does not do it, and that's
no, you're right. My wife would not sit in front of my Steam Deck and go to all these different sites to get all the programs to play Sonic the Hedgehog on Genesis, or something like that. Like we are spoiled, but it's what we like to do. We like to go find those things and play these things and get these things set up. And to be honest with you, I'm tech savvy to a point, but there are layers that I have asked you, Jake, you, Wolf, Sinistar, what the hell am I doing to get this to work right? And because I have a basic roadmap of what to do, I can usually get there pretty quick. But my wife ain't gonna do all that stuff. She's gonna be like, "Can I just plug it in and play it?" You're like your casual gamer, so. It makes sense to just be like, I'm going to go to the store. Hey, Super Metroid's here. I love that game. And then you play it and you're done. You're good to go. So instead of having to go to 5 different ROM sites just to pick the damn game up.
I have to really try and restrain myself from being not like gatekeeping, but I got to be very careful when somebody says, I just want a retro handheld to play old Nintendo games on. What's the best handheld? And my first thing is, if you want handheld, get an analog pocket. Spend the $300, get an analog pocket. It's the best. It's the FPGA, yada, yada, yada. I have to stop that. It's right, because there's $40 handhelds that you can get, like the Retroid Pocket, which is super cheap and runs things more than adequate for 99% of the people out there. It's just not for me, right? But I can't tell you how many times I've used I have a lifetime subscription to Emu Movies, and the only reason I have that, I've had it for a decade, I think, at this point. And it's so I can take a library of ROMs on a handheld device, and it syncs up and it downloads all the screenshots of the movies for me. Nobody in their right mind does that more than once in their lifetime. I've done it like 6 times, right? For various devices over the years. I like doing it. It's monotonous, it's boring, it's a pain in the ass, but somehow I like doing that. Do I ever play the device after it's set up? No. But I like doing it. But it's one of those
things. Your Zen garden, man. It's going out there with your rake and playing with your Zen garden. It's just that's just what you do. It's how you find peace.
Yeah.
It's perfectly normal.
So it's definitely innovation for the Nintendo Switch. You know, they're taking what's working from Switch 1, and we don't know yet what they're fully doing. I have one more point. You had mentioned, you know, it's mostly Nintendo games on the Switch. Very true for the first one, and very true for like Wii U. Wii U was basically dead on arrival, right? Like Wolf will say, right, with me. Like, it's just nobody released games to that system. And even the Wii, I think, had a lot of great games, but it was all unique to the Wii. It didn't have those ports from other systems. I think we're going to have a change on the Switch too. Go ahead.
There was one game on the Switch, the Wii, that I was really excited about, the Little King story. I absolutely loved it, but I can't stand having to point and click with the Wii remote. It's so awful.
Right.
Using it as a mouse is trash.
We played all the bowling games and the games that you use the remote control for, like the surgery games, you know, the trauma center stuff. It's, you know.
Do you know how long it took to put Little King story on something other than the Wii? It finally happened in 2016. Game came out in like
Jesus Christ.
What, 2008?
Right.
It took 8 years to put it on PC. All you had to do was make the Wii remote be the mouse. Like, that's all you had to do.
Right.
And so there's a barrier there where a lot of companies were just designing stuff for the Wii, and then it wasn't easily transferable. So the Wii kind of had its own software pool. And then when somebody tried to put something on the Wii from something else, like there was all of maybe 3 zombies at a time when you were playing Dead Rising on the Wii.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the hardware, they stopped competing with Sony and Xbox, you know, generations ago, right? And even with the Switch, which has arguably a more classic option in controller, right? The Pro controllers. The Wii U had this as well, but the Switch really kind of dialed down a classic controller. You have that now, but the hardware is still lacking compared to the Xbox and PlayStation, so we still didn't see many ports of those games to the Switch. The Switch 2, however, is going to be better in terms of graphical power. It's not going to compete with the PS5, but it's easily going to do PS4 in that generation of games, right?
Yeah, wasn't it supposed to be like base PS4 caliber?
Right. And PS4,
so still no
even today, still looks really good. I mean, hell, half the PS5 games are ports of PS4 games anyway. So it's like, it's going to
still no Cyberpunk, though.
Well,
come on, Nintendo, get your shit together.
But then also in terms of software support, we have companies like Sega. Sega is kind of like almost on the verge of a renaissance, I'm going to say, in terms of they're bringing back all their old properties, right? They've got Shinobi, Crazy Taxi, Golden Axe. They're bringing a lot of their classics back in new versions of games that are kind of like not AAA graphics. We're going to say AA. And I think they'll run fine on the Switch. I think they're going to be there. The other option is Microsoft. Microsoft is fast approaching the point where they become a software company and less of a hardware company. I think they're always going to have some kind of hardware device like an Xbox, but they've started bringing their games to PlayStation, and they're looking more like we're a software first company. We want you playing Xbox game no matter where you go. It doesn't matter if it's on our hardware, on PC or PlayStation or wherever. And if given the opportunity, I guarantee you they would love to put Game Pass on the Nintendo Switch 2. They would bring games to Switch 2. I mean, is it going to be Indiana Jones? Probably not. But Halo Infinite? Probably, right? All the Doom 3 or Doom Dark Ages, I think I heard that one's coming. Yeah. So I think the bump in graphics will be enough for a generation back of games, and I think Microsoft and Sega are gonna be all over the Switch 2.
Right. I mean, you could play like Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch 1. It is available on there, and it doesn't look as good, but
Right.
it still plays pretty good. My sister was playing that on there, but on her specific Switch. But I mean, even if you look at the old Xbox, like the last Xbox X that just came out, not just came out, but came out what,
The
4 years
Xbox
ago now?
One. Yeah.
Yeah, not the one, the
Xbox
X.
Series.
Series
Oh,
X. Thank you.
Series X and S. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Fuck
looks
their
it
naming,
looks
man.
like a PC. Like
Yes.
it doesn't look like a gaming console anymore. But basically, it's a shorter version of what I got under my desk here. So it always, like to your point, it feels like they were always there's like, this is our last kind of thing. We're gonna go software and start pushing it
Yeah.
all over the place. And then Sony's just gonna be throwing PS numerics at us probably until the end of time. So because Sony is gonna probably fight with Nintendo and be like, we're still better than you since the PlayStation 1 era, and keep going from there.
Yeah. I
But
don't even think it's a competition anymore. I think it's PS, like Sony won the console war, right? Like if you want the premium console experience, you're going to get a PlayStation. If you want the best gaming experience, you're going to be on PC. And if you want just convenience of games, maybe Xbox and Game Pass and cloud streaming. And then if you want to play, Nintendo's got Nintendo games. Nobody has Nintendo games. Nintendo has a certain magic with their first party games, and they're only on their system. So it's kind of like not necessarily a console war. It's just a console cold war. I guess everybody's doing their own thing now. But everybody's equally useful, right? I don't know.
the console renaissance.
I will say that the Switch 2 when I described it yesterday to you guys at Marco Polo, I said it looks like a sleeker Steam Deck. And I didn't mean that in a good way, because it looks nowhere near as comfortable as a Steam Deck, right?
Right. You
Yeah.
guys
But
are talking a lot about ergonomics.
I do
here.
have to say it does look thicker and more better rounded to be more comfortable in your hands.
Right.
So in that regard, I do think it's going to be a comfort improvement for most people.
Yeah. It's a weird, I mean, I don't have my Steam Deck anywhere because it's in my office, but I feel like when I play this, like I'm expecting to have the grips that the Steam Deck has,
Yeah.
right? On this
Yeah,
edge board.
like
My hands
there's
hurt just
definitely
looking at you.
It's so
It's-
flat, right? Doesn't.
and then you've got this thing
right.
that's got like the
It's
controller
got a grip to it,
grips on it,
right?
and it's
And
far
initially,
superior.
when the Steam
But-
Deck was released, and I was reading reviews about it, people were complaining about like how heavy it was over playing it for too long, and I've not had that problem with it at all. Playing
No.
that thing, I could play that thing for hours, and it doesn't feel
Yeah,
as big as it is. You feel like it's going to be bulky and heavy and hard to handle. That thing is like, it's like holding the cloud almost. Like I know that's probably too super exaggeration, but it still feels really good in your hands.
yeah,
One of the reasons I didn't buy it at launch was because the controls looked like they were uncomfortable. When you guys told me it was
That's what you were
comfortable, I thought
talking
you
about,
guys were nuts. So,
Yeah. How
No,
wrong
it's
were you?
super comfortable.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, and I can see how people might think, okay, it's a big, giant, hulking tablet that you're holding. Like, you kind of have to hold with both hands, because if you're
Right.
holding with just one hand, it gets a little wonky.
It does get a little wonky.
Honestly, try doing that with the Switch. It is worse with the Switch to hold
Right.
it with one hand.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
almost as heavy, and you have no friggin' grip on it. You're like
Right.
holding
gotta put your
onto it
finger
by
over
the
the screen.
shoulder.
Yeah.
You're holding onto it by the shoulder, and you've got your finger on the screen in hopes that you
Yeah.
won't drop it. And then
Right.
you can feel that tension there of where you're putting tension on where the Joy-Con meets the tablet.
Mhm.
It's
And
awful.
you feel that, like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I'm gonna break it doing this.
Right.
So
It does not feel robust at all.
No.
So
it
hopefully, like you
blows
said,
my
the magnet
mind.
on there keeps that so it doesn't feel like you're going to snap that thing in half.
Yeah, it blows my mind that Nintendo did not more comfortably design the Joy-Cons with the Switch 2 than they did. I'm sure they're
Yeah.
more comfortable than the Switch ones, but give it a little meat to hold on to, you know?
Right.
Yeah, my thing with the Joy-Cons is I understand why they did it that way. I understand that on paper their concept was one controller, but you can split into two, so you and a friend on the couch can play Mario
Yeah.
Party and all that stuff. But they are not comfortable that way. And None of my kids like playing with the Joy-Cons on their own. Like every single one of them is like, can I just go use your 8-bit controller? Can I go use your Xbox controller or whatever I have? They would rather use any other full-size controller than using a tiny little Joy-Con. And my kids have small hands and they don't like it. And we lost the D-pad because of the Joy-Cons on the Switch 1. I really wish by now we'd had official Joy-Con with a D-pad. The Switch Lite has a D-pad. Why can't I get that as a thing? So I hate the Joy-Cons. I hate that it's $90 for a pair of Joy-Cons. I hate how many times I sent it in to get repaired for drift. Hopefully they fix that with Hall Effect. We don't know for sure yet. But I'm with you. They are uncomfortable. They are tiny still. Even if they're longer, they're still tiny and thin. They hurt my hands. My kids don't like them. Who likes the Joy-Cons? Like, I do wonder by removing the IR camera and some of the other stuff, if they did it to make it cheaper so that you're not paying, and when I say $90, $9 Canadian, if they've reduced the cost of the Joy-Cons, because I know that was one of my big complaints, is I refuse to pay any more for controllers for the Switch because of how expensive those damn things are.
Right. I think this is a really cool feature. Let me get this out of the way. I think this is
The
a cool
removability,
feature.
absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I used to have a coworker that I'd work with. He used to bring, when he first got his Switch, he'd come out and at lunchtime he'd bust his Switch out and he'd pop it off the table and he'd put the Switch, the screen down on the table and he'd pop this off and he'd just sit there and screw around with his little Joy-Con in his hand like that. And I was like, that's freaking neat, but it's too small. Like this is too much, or not enough. You say too much, but I also mean not freaking enough. Like it's not beefy enough to really do anything with it. And I can imagine being a man without children. I can simply imagine this thing going missing when a kid gets its hand on it easily. So I hope that the newest ones have a little bit more weight to them, and if they are electromagnetic, it holds it in place better, and it makes it feel like I get angry when I game, man. I'm gonna snap this thing in half. I mean, when I play Metroid Dredge on this thing, I have to put it on the TV with a handheld because I will break this goddamn console. I feel like I would snap it in half because that game is hard and very frustrating sometimes.
That game, at the end of a gaming session for games like that, my hands are feeling like that episode of Friends where Chandler was really into Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And at the end, he's just stuck with the claw.
Yep.
That's how I feel just playing these in handheld for that long, like for 3 hours. If I actually get time to get in a good gaming session, or even like an hour with a more intense game, oh man, like my hands are done. It's like I need a break because of the stress, but also because my hand hurts.
I want to point out, because Jake's replaying the video here, that there's also a headphone jack in this. Which my phone doesn't even have a headphone jack on it anymore. I'm just saying, most handheld things nowadays don't have handheld jacks, except the Steam Deck has it too. But I appreciate that it's an appreciation thing that they're not.
Oh yeah,
everything's going to be USB. Like I when I saw the headphone jack, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Because everything I use is Bluetooth, because not everything I have has a freaking headphone jack in it anymore.
But again, it goes back to my point, Chart, of it took 5-6 years for them to enable Bluetooth audio headphones. Do you think they removed that feature and it's gonna be another 5 years before we get Bluetooth wireless support again for headphones, and we're stuck with the jack? Like, I like the jack too, but I like the option is my thing.
Yeah. Well, I hate cords, so I'll take anything that doesn't have cords on it, but my Bluetooths don't last 8 hours anymore. So you want to have something that you're going to be running with for a bit. So, and if I'm gaming hard and I'm into a game, I don't want my sound to be cutting out because I'm so into it. It's going to ruin the whole motif of what we're doing. So,
before we go on,
I can't even do Bluetooth with the Steam Deck because it doesn't it's not great with it syncing to my earphones at least. So I kind of have to use the wired ones.
While I have it up on the screen, I paused it at the so you mentioned, Chard, real quick, that it's magnets now instead of like a physical plastic rail. And I'm interested to see how that works when it comes out. But what's bothering me here, and I have it up on for people watching YouTube, I have it pulled up here. It's magnets, but there's also like a exposed circuit nub on the Switch itself now. And that to me seems like something's going to break within 5 weeks. Like, I don't see that lasting. The moment my kid gets upset and flexes the magnetic Joy-Cons, if it's not strong enough, it's going to break that nub. So I really wonder about the durability of these new Joy-Cons, because that was my complaint about the Switch 1, is the Joy-Con rails basically broke, right? They're loose and they disconnect. I don't want the same problem or a different type of problem with the new Joy-Cons. So I'm curious to see how that works.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like that nub is a little too long.
Yeah.
I feel like it would have been okay if it were a bit shorter and didn't protrude all the way as far out as the hole seems to.
Yep. It's interesting to see how how that comes together. I do like now for like the color for the aesthetic look. I like the old gray with the highlights instead of,
Okay.
one side's blue and one side's red.
Yeah,
I'm into that. I like that
the
very
analog stick
subtle.
bases. That's
Yeah,
neat.
the monochromatic look for that looks pretty solid with the highlighters on the other end. And then you take off and you can see more of the coloring. I think that's neat. Now again, that's purely for aesthetic appeasing for myself, but
But at least at the top of the show, I mean, lost opportunity to show off a Super Nintendo Switch with the gray color scheme and the purple buttons.
agreed.
If they do that, I would buy one of those, hands down.
Oh yeah. And who's to say that that doesn't happen? I mean, we just saw the PlayStation do the same thing for their 30-year anniversary, right?
Right.
When they released a PlayStation 5, but it had the same coloring as the PS1. And now all my PlayStation things, basically, I can either have a PlayStation 1 wallpaper, 2 or 3, and it's the same sound effects, the same coloring. So there's a lot of nostalgia you're getting out of that. Who's to say that they don't launch this thing and then a couple months or years later or whatever anniversary comes up for Nintendo where they're like, it's the Super Nintendo's 40th anniversary. Here's a Switch with the same coloring and all that stuff. That would be everybody
And
would go and get
they've
one.
done a ton of cosmetic designs on the Switch. I mean, I feel like every 6 months they used to release a new Switch with a new dock pattern or something. There's an Animal Crossing Switch, a Zelda Switch, and I know they're big into that kind of thing, and it'd be interesting to see if they do one in Super Nintendo style, especially because that Sony one did so well for Sony. So I guess we'll see.
We got to keep our eye out for whatever centennial anniversary the Super Nintendo will have and how they're going to launch if they're going to do that.
Wouldn't 2025 be the 40th anniversary of the NES?
Is it?
Maybe
85?
Famicom?
Was 85. I think so.
It was 85 here, but was Famicom 84?
That's a good question.
Let's
I don't
see.
Definitely around that time, though. You're right.
Right.
The Famicom
NES
was
Switch.
83.
83.
Okay.
Wow.
So we missed a 40th on that one. But I mean, I could see it turning into I could see them going in some kind of nostalgic direction for some kind of, again, centennial anniversary for, like you said, Super Nintendo or 64 or whatever was the one that's talked about the most at the time, which whatever they can lean into. So, well, I don't know, guys. I'm interested. I'm to go round robin and to gauge our interest level or our excitement or interest level in this. And I think we're all kind of in agreement. And I won't speak for you guys, but for myself, I want to say that I'm interested in what they're going to bring to the innovation table outside of what we've seen in that 2-minute and 22-second video. I don't know if I'm as excited about it as I would be for a new console, but I think being primarily PC gaming, it's hard for me to get excited about consoles these days, especially when I have the Steam Deck. Like, I'd be more excited to see what the Steam Deck's going to bring out for accessories for my Steam Deck than maybe a Switch 2. So I am very interested to see where it goes, but not as excited as I could be about something like this, if that makes sense. And that's not a negative. I don't want it to sound like I'm disappointed or I'm set. My headspace is just into the PC portion of things. So I'm not going to be able to do anything on my Nintendo that, I'm more excited about video cards than I am about handheld consoles. So, but I'm very interested to see what Nintendo does with this thing and what they're going to do and to hear people's responses when we get a full fleshed out thing in April to know exactly or close to exactly what we may or may not be getting. So my interest is peaked. I'll go with that. Jake, what about you?
Yeah, I look back at what I used the original Switch 1 for 7-8 years ago, and I was looking back my purchase history, and it was a lot of independent games, a lot of indie titles, Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Shantae games, all on Switch. And then, I mean, I haven't played that many indie games since Xbox 360 era, but now the Steam Deck, hands down, has replaced it as my indie device. When there's a new indie game, the first thing I look at is not my PC, not my Switch. I look at the Steam Deck, to the point where I had bought Inscription in December of 2023, and a few weeks later when I got the Steam Deck, I'm like, I should have gotten it for the Steam Deck instead. I should have waited, because I love Inscription, but I'll never play on the Switch again. I look at the last couple of years of games I bought for the Switch, and I mean, it's few and far between. As a joke, I looked at 2024. I did buy Echoes of Wisdom. I had a ticket coupon, so I used it for that. Did not like that game. I bought Nintendo World Championship. Very neat. But I fell off that game after like 3 weeks, sadly. And then Vampire Survivors DLC for my kid. So I bought like two things in 2024. 2023, a little bit better. Of course, Tears of the Kingdom was out. But I look at the last few games I bought on my Nintendo Switch over the last 3 years, and nothing really stands out except for Tears of the Kingdom in terms of what I played. Yeah. And we're talking Kirby and all that stuff too. I just don't know what would excite me more about a Switch 2 software wise. I would love to see an Odyssey 2. I don't think I need it at launch. I would like to see a Mario Kart. I know they teased one. I'm curious to see what the gimmick is. But I spent a lot of time playing Mario Kart 8, and I thought that was a perfect game to me. Like, even if they were announcing another Smash Brothers, I don't think I'm that hyped for it, because I spent so much time with Smash Ultimate on Switch and then Smash on Wii U, and that game is a perfect game to me. I don't know what they could do on the Switch 2 to bring me back in terms of gaming.
Right. You can actually, since we need to get our bingo cards filled up for the week, you can actually see my two Switch games right here, which is Breath of the Wild and Metroid Dread. My wife has the third and only other Switch game in this house, which is Animal Crossing. So, you know, they're Nintendo proprietary games, right? So it's games that I can't play anywhere else. I can only play on the Nintendo Switch. We went and got, I think I got her this Switch for her birthday a couple years back, because she saw something on Animal Crossing and everybody was talking about it. So she had to have it. So we went out and picked one up, and she played that shit religiously. And it's funny because I was like, I'm going to bring this into my office and talk about it tonight. So I'm going to have it in here. And she hasn't touched it in a while because she's got a PC and she's been playing stuff on there. And she goes, well, I was going to play that today. Like, really? The night I talk about the Switch and need to show it off is the night you want to play something on it? How convenient is that? But she let me have it just for tonight, and then I'll give it back to her when we're done. But I mean, I even have that blue thing that you see right there. That's the Switch Lite that I have too. So that's what I was playing on my cruise. So if I want specifically Nintendo S games, then I just bust out the Switch. So I don't know what they'd bring to me that would make me go, hey. I mean, Metroid Prime 4, I'd be all about that. I know, Jake, you're not as enthusiastic about it as we are, but that would be the only thing I could think of. But is it gonna just be on Switch 2, or will it be able to play on both of them? Because if it is, I'm just gonna play it on the Switch 1.
Right.
So that's how they would get me. So they're like, oh, it's only available on Switch 2. And I'd be like, fuck, we need that. And then Animal Crossing Lunar New Year, or whatever version of Animal Crossing is going to come out for Switch 2 this year, if it does come out this year or whatever. But you're going to have something. And Animal Crossing was such a huge sell for the Switch 1. I feel like they would be completely remiss if they didn't do something for Animal Crossing for the Switch 2.
Maybe, but the Nintendo is Nintendo, right? Like, you guys are talking about new Zelda games for the Switch 2. I'm not going to get one. I almost guarantee you we will not see a sequel to Tears of the Kingdom for like another 3-4 years, if not longer. I would
Well,
say
I don't
we
think
won't
it'll
even
be a
get one.
launch title. It'll probably be like a midlife
Think so?
of the console title.
Considering it's been how long since we got a new Mario, a 3D Mario, right? Mario Odyssey was what, 6-7 years ago, and we haven't gotten a new Mario.
Like Zelda was the bridge game. Like it felt like whenever we had the innovation, there was a Zelda on one console, and then it also went into the new console, right? So like
a couple times,
the GameCube, Twilight Princess into the Wii that had all the new stuff. Then you said Breath of the Wild was on Wii U, plus it went into the Switch, and then we got Tears of the Kingdom, which, was its own thing. And then we had the remake, Link's Awakening remake, and then the new Zelda where you play a Zelda game. So it's almost weird to not have like a Zelda bridge because that's
So
what it always felt like to me. Was
the rumor is that they're doing a Breath of the Wild for the port for the Switch 2. Basically, it's Breath of the Wild, or it'd be an update to Breath of the Wild, so they'll look better on the Switch 2. Because more than Tears of the Kingdom, the original Breath of the Wild had some frame rate issues. So there's talk that they would do an update to show they make that look better on the Switch 2 as one of their launch offerings. We'll have to see in April what they do with it. So that may be what you're going to get. And I think that's all you're going to get for the Switch 2's lifespan. We're definitely getting Mario Kart because they teased it. We're definitely, I would say, we're getting a 3D Mario game because we already had Wonder. We've already had Mario Maker. We had a teaser with Bowser's Fury. So I think we're due for a 3D Mario game soon, if not closer to release. But I don't think they're the type that looks at, oh, well, Tears of the Kingdom sold really well. We're going to do one in 2-3 years. It's not happening. I think they're very slow with their releases. I don't even know if they look at what fans want half the time. I think they just kind of do Nintendo things. Nintendo does what Nintendo does, and they don't really look up from their desks, I think, half the time.
Nintendo.
Yeah. You have to consider, though, the release schedule for Nintendo Switch, like, once it hit, like, 3 months in, it was really consistent with major releases and first-party releases regularly for, like, the next 2-3 years. And so, yeah, I do think we're gonna get I think we're gonna get a Zelda game in the middle of the lifespan of the console. They pumped out 2 on this one.
3.
When was the last time? Oh, 3. When was the last time we saw more than one Zelda game on a console?
That would be Nintendo. Really?
Well, GameCube, right? Isn't GameCube? We had Wind Waker, we had Four Swords, and we had
Four Swords,
Twilight
and then
Princess, right?
Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Right. It's been that long.
Yeah.
The Wii, we saw Skyward. No, we got Twilight Princess, and then it got Skyward Sword.
Right.
So that one got 2.
And
Wii
crossbow
U,
training. Don't forget crossbow training.
Wii U didn't get one until Breath of the Wild. As it's like dying breath.
Yeah.
Right. Of the Wild. Dying Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Dying Breath of the Wild. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see what they have to offer, but I mean, I think it's going to be. I think what I heard was it Bloomberg. I think had a report saying that they delayed the launch of the Switch 2 by 6 months, both to build up stock because they didn't want to have a shortage at launch. Right? They saw what Sony and Xbox went through, but also to ensure they have launch titles available. So I think we're going to look like a strong launch lineup for the system.
COVID and the entire world shutting down for a year didn't fucking help with that either. So
that doesn't help either. You're right. Yeah.
But I mean, when a console releases with almost no launch titles, it doesn't bode well for the console. It looks bad.
Right.
And so they got to have like a couple of first party, a couple of third party that are big, some indies, and they're set. Like that's all they need at launch, because otherwise you're murkying the waters. And people are like, well, what is there to buy? There's too many things. I don't know what to get. And then nobody's happy because they didn't sell as much as they wanted. But yeah, I think we're going to see Mario as a console seller this time around as, the start. Maybe Mario Kart as well. If that's not out by the end of the year, I'll be surprised. But yeah, I don't think we'll see Zelda for maybe 2-3 years while they figure out what they're going to do after Tears of the Kingdom, because that was a big game. And I know that one came quick because it was mostly reusing the Breath of the Wild world.
Right.
But I can see us, Metroid Prime 4 will probably be pretty quick. We'll probably get another Yoshi game, which the most recent Yoshi's Island game, whatever it was for the Switch, was kind of trash. My kid got bored playing it.
I feel like Nintendo's going to bank a lot on Metroid Prime 4. I think I don't want to say that they're putting a lot of chickens in their hat in that basket, but I feel like that's where the eggs are going. It's because they got such a positive response for the the delivery of we're doing this. Now we're going to make Switch 2. That's the next stage. Oh, by the way, this is going to come with it. You don't need anything else right now, like until we can kind of get some more shit figured out. So that's
I also think Metroid
that's my prediction.
Did well enough that they're gonna that we're gonna get another side-scrolling Metroid on this platform in a couple years.
Dredger was great.
So
we'll get another side-scrolling before we get another 3D one. I think for sure, right? It'll be 4, and then that's it. But we'll definitely get a sequel to Dread.
Oh yeah,
Before,
I'm definitely interested in the Switch. Like Chard pointed at his whole 2 games.
Yeah, he's got
these
a stack.
squares are the same size as chards.
Yeah,
I
they are.
got a whole stack of them right here, and then, like, there's a couple of special editions on the bottom, Undertale and Axiom Verge, and then a couple of big special edition boxes right there, and then I also got a big Zelda special edition box up here behind this wooden NES cartridge, and then I've also got these 2. So,
Mm,
I've got plenty. Like, I was really excited about the Switch 1. I'm not really excited about the Switch 2, but I will likely end up getting one to play the first party titles. Like,
right.
I just
and
think,
it sucks that Nintendo knows they have gamers by the balls like that.
well,
No,
but
right.
that's their
Right.
business, right?
Right. That's their model.
Where else can you play Metroid? Where else can you play Mario
Right.
Kart? Where else can you play
Right.
Zelda? You could play games like those.
Right.
They're usually not quite as good or not the same. Like, I don't know if I ever told you guys this, but I think Horizon Zero Dawn was the best Zelda game ever, not Zelda, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I support that decision at 100%.
The fact that they came out the exact same day is wild to me.
Right.
But
I think
I mean, it's a very Zelda-ish game,
Mhm.
but it's not Zelda. You know,
Right.
it doesn't have that built-in fan base and love. I mean, my fucking wedding ring has the Zelda prints on it. I don't know if you guys can see. There it
Yeah,
is.
I see it.
there
Yep.
it
Yep.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if the rumor is that it's not OLED, if it's an LCD screen, and again, it was a cost thing, right, to keep costs down. We've seen
Mhm.
before Nintendo, like other console manufacturers, will do like a refresh where they improve things slightly, right? We had the slight revision of the Switch that had better battery. Then we had the OLED version. I think if I can hang on and not be tempted with the FOMO, we'll see how that goes. I think I would rather wait for the OLED version of the Switch 2 if it's not OLED at launch. I think that's
It would
likely.
blow my freaking mind if they have an OLED version of the Switch 1 already in production and they don't take the damn technology to the Switch 2 to make it OLED right out the gate. I understand the costing, I totally get that. But
Yeah.
it feels like more of a kick to the balls if they're like, "Hey, we're going to release this shitty screen to you even though the Switch 1 has an OLED already attached to it. We're still just going to give you this LCD and
Yeah.
then 5 years later or 3 or 2 years later, we'll give you the fucking OLED." That seems awful. That seems
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
But Nintendo gonna Nintendo.
Yeah.
If they're gonna squeeze the cash cow, then they're gonna do what they can. So, "We were doing it to keep the prices down." Yeah, sure you were.
Well,
Sure you were.
what do you guys think is what would you be willing to pay for the Switch 2? What's your
I
limit?
mean, it sounds like it's gonna be around 300, right? Like 299,
I'm
399, something like
thinking
that?
No,
I'm
more than that.
thinking
More than
closer
that?
to 399.
Okay, well, then
Yeah.
I'd argue that I would pay 299 for that. I
I
will
think
get that,
it's
but that's
Let's
what I would pay.
they've got to keep it, they can't go over 400. They just
No,
can't. Otherwise,
no.
you know, that's going to scare away a lot of families who are like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I
because
want to
you're
get my
gonna
kid a console."
I could get him a PlayStation for that, you know?
no. What
You could get
PlayStation
them a
5 is
PlayStation
what?
for
Or
PlayStation
how
5 is
much are
like
they?
500, isn't it?
I thought they were
I
Where's the
like
think
4.
the
PS5?
digital PS5 is 380.
Is it? No,
I
I thought it was
Yeah.
think.
more than that. You want to take
I
a
guess
look,
let me
and
check.
while you're looking that
Well,
up, I think
I'm looking.
it
I'm
might
in
be
my
more
mind
in
palace.
Canadian land, but
it could be that
Right.
too. But I think 399 would be the great price. I think that'd be the sweet spot. But I bet you they do 425 or something. And I'll tell you why, because they already have the Switch 1 out there, and you can buy a Switch 1, they'll knock $50 off the price, and they'll say, "Hey, for your kids, you can still get a Switch 1 or a Switch Lite for $300. But if you're a gamer with Nintendo, you'll pay the 425, and you'll get some kind of demo disc, or maybe they'll even bundle in Mario Kart, because I'm telling you, Mario Kart, whatever this is, Mario Kart 9, Mario Kart 10, will probably be a launch title. And I think that's smart because of how many units Mario Kart 8 sold for them and how many systems
mm.
they bundled Mario Kart 8 over the last
Well,
5 years. So I think they might do that. But 425 is what I think you'll end up being, although I would love to see 399.
okay, so the
PlayStation
PS5 is
5
450
digital
or
edition.
500.
Yeah. I'm looking at a 349 here at Target on my end.
Oh, I went and checked Best Buy.
But if you go to the PlayStation consoles, like the Slim and the PS Pro are like 699.
The Pro,
Like the Slim is like $4 something, but the Pro is $6.99, which makes sense for that. But the digital edition of my version, I have a physical edition, $3.49 at Target. So
wow, that's cheaper than
pretty good.
Best Buy. Okay,
because you got it now. You got the Pros, so you're going to offload the older shit.
No,
'cause you get the
their Pro is 700. Their base is 500 at Best Buy.
Well, so don't go to Best Buy. Go to Target.
I guess it just depends where you shop, but
Yep.
you also have to consider like for 400. If you're going $400, there's gonna be people who are gonna be like, I'll just get a Meta Quest. I'll just get, you know, a bottom tier, like
I'll get
a low tier.
A
handheld
5070
PC.
card.
The bottom tier Steam Deck is under $400. So and what you have to consider too is Nintendo does not go hard with internal storage. The Switch had what, 32 gigs?
I think so, or less.
I think so. Yeah,
they relied heavily on SD cards for storage.
Yeah, and I got that SD card. I've got a 512 hidden under here, or a 256 or something. We got a 512 for my cousin's kid, or 256. I don't remember. We got him a big one because it's like they wanted to go digital for as many games as they could if they're the same price. And I was like, all right, well then you're gonna want storage space for this child. And so I can see Nintendo just being like, yeah, just stick an SD card in there. It's good enough.
Yeah. But also Nintendo is also keeping physical copies of games, right? They're not going purely digital. Is that I heard too. Right. So that's another big thing for collectors and people like us that are like, we want our games to have physical editions of them. So as Wolf shows off all of his Switch limited edition shit, including Sea of Stars, which I'm very jealous of.
That was a gift from my friend for my birthday, and I was super appreciative.
He nailed that one out of the park.
Yeah, he did.
So, all right, guys. Well, do you think we've covered our bases here, and have we set our pieces, our Reese's pieces?
I mean, we spoke for an hour and 16 minutes about a 2-minute trailer, so
that means we're a good podcast, right?
Yeah, we stretch it out.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to reinforce your idea of there being like Mario Kart as a launch title. I know we're wanting to wrap up here, but especially since they're not going to have, like, they just did a Mario Party game in the last few months.
Yeah.
And there's no way in hell there's a Smash Brothers on the horizon anytime soon.
Yeah.
So they need something multiplayer to sell the console as well. And I think Mario Kart is what it's going to be.
And like 3D Mario, I'm sure is coming, but I bet you that's a holiday title because you need something to sell it during Christmas. So I think Mario Kart launch, 3D Mario platformer at Christmas, and that's a console. Plus you say, and it works with almost everything else on Switch 1. And we did a free update for Breath of the Wild, so it runs great. I mean, and then you have Metroid Prime 4 for the Metroid nerds, right? Like it's going to be a strong year for their launch. I think they made the right call by delaying it 6 months, but it's FOMO.
I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Twilight Princess remaster hit it either, because that's last time we saw that was on the Wii U.
That'd be a good one.
So I can see that coming around again, and it's going to be an interesting year. I think we're going to see some remasters. Honestly, we might see the Metroid Prime Trilogy bundle hit remaster on the Switch 2 as well.
Yeah, because that's the ongoing rumor, right? That it was 1 was going to be the big remaster, but then they were going to do light remasters for 2 and 3. But then they just kind of quietly disappeared. They haven't said anything. Nothing's been announced. So I could see that coming out. And then when you guys talk
if they
about
don't
Zelda
have 4 coming out till next year,
right?
Prime Trilogy being an early title would not be a dumb move on their part.
That would be an awesome move for them, yeah. But also, you mentioned Zelda, and there should be a Zelda on the Switch too. I think that's the play. You just mentioned it. Twilight Princess, Wind Waker. I could see those coming to Switch 2 in the next year or two.
Did they already do a remaster of Wind Waker though?
Not on
Switch. On the Wii U.
On the Wii U.
Yeah. It was a Wii U. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they did do a remaster of Wind Waker at some point. I just didn't remember which console it fell on. Yeah. Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's interesting to see. I can't wait to see in April what they announce in April. Hopefully better hardware details. Hopefully see more games. I am optimistic to see something neat about Mario Kart, whatever hell it is, not 9, 10. From that 3 seconds we saw it just looked like Mario Kart with more
Mario Kart
people
Super Deluxe 8.
Yeah, no,
Star Road Edition.
Yeah.
It's easy to look at this and see, oh, this is just feeling like a hardware refresh, like Sinistar said. But I think
Right.
it's going to feel more like, and I mean, it wasn't that much different from feeling like a hardware refresh. It's going to feel more like going from DS to 3DS in terms of capabilities.
Right. All right. Perfect. Okay. Well,
I
we'll
have
go
said
ahead
my
and
pieces.
pieces, your Reese's Pieces. Perfect. Well, guys, this is a good conversation for a 2-minute and 22-second long video. I'm glad we decided to kind of pivot, and we had other plans to talk about something else today. But with this coming out, this felt like this is something we definitely need to jump on and discuss with you guys. And in which case, let's transfer it to the listeners and the viewers and the people that are hanging out with us. Please come by Discord. Tell us your feelings about the Switch 2. What do you think about it? Are you excited? Are you just interested like the three of us are? Like, how do you, what do you want? What do you want to come out? Star Fox, more Metroids, more Zeldas. What would you like to see on the Switch 2? And what are you hoping to get? Um, yeah, come and hang out with us over at the Discord, Press B to Cancel Discord. You can stop by our website and come see us there at pressbtocancel.com or pressb.org. Jake is closing his eyes because he knows I'm going to fuck it up. We are also part of a huge group of other amazing podcasters over at the SuperPod Saga, superpodnetwork.com. You can find them there and go hang out with a bunch of people. It's on my screen so I could read it right. And you can hang out with
Nailed it.
people like Dave, who was with us last week from Remember 64, and Aaron for the Super Prod podcast, and some really cool people that are over there. So come check us out over there. Follow them, follow us. It's been great being a part of that team. You can find me over at Twitch, www.twitch.tv/Chardmonk, playing my Sisyphean game Doom. Sounds like I'm going to finish it this weekend. And Jake just uninstalled his, so that's pretty cool. I think I'm
Progress.
par for the course here. And you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky, all the social network places that exist right now until one of them burns to the ground here in a couple days. Jake, where can they find you, sir?
You can find me shit posting over on Blue Sky, Sick Jake over on Blue Sky, no K in Sick. You can also find me on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube, please. Again, SICJAKE. I have something planned starting in February on my personal channel, so make sure you check that out.
There's no K in Sick, but there's Canadian in Jake.
Oh,
Werewolf.
one more thing. Hold on.
Oh.
Give me 1 sec. I have one more thing.
Did we get another sponsor from another Amish company?
Oh, never mind. It's not out yet. It's okay. I'll advertise it next week. There's something I did voice work in that's coming up, but it's not out yet. It looks like it's being delayed another week.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
Well, I'm excited to hear about it next week. Wolf, what about you, sir? How are you doing? What are you doing? Where can they find you? All that other fun stuff.
I am really aching to start doing YouTube stuff again because my stupid little Parasite Eve short that I did when I did it like a year ago or something is, and I know this isn't like, oh, but for us, it's kind of big numbers.
It's huge.
Mine is at 2,200 views.
Let's go.
What the fuck?
That's badass.
How did that happen? So I'm thinking I might just jump into doing those kind of things a little more. And I have some other stupid little things I wanted to do. So I'll probably just do shorts and then at the end just be like, and go check out Press B. So
yeah,
do it.
Once I get those going, I'll say I've done them. But that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is like I see that and I'm like, okay, I need to do more.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I've been doing the Jake thing where he told me to put some thumbnails to my videos and they're getting a lot more views than I normally get. So it's been kind of exciting to watch stuff that I do on Twitch get thrown onto the YouTube and get a little more love over there. So I'd love to see it. I'll watch all of Wolf stuff. Wolf is a greatly entertaining individual outside of the podcast as well as inside of the podcast. So anything he does is going to be it's going to be golden. It's going to be super golden.
Yeah, I think I want to just stick
better
to
than anything
shorts,
Nintendo can release. I'll tell you that right now. But all right. Well, you can also check out our friend Sinistar over at DJ Spinistar. He does his fat beat drops out there. He really wanted to join us tonight, but he's getting the new house squared away and the old house squared up. So we love you, bud. But go check out our friend DJ Spinistar, dropping fat beats on Mondays and Saturdays for Smatterday. And then the rest of us, you can always catch us here at Press B to Cancel at YouTube. And we will see you guys next week with some more exciting episodes. So until then, have a good night.